we were, kind of talking about the Russell. Obviously, that's been the big mover over the last couple of weeks. Big rotation continued into this week, as we saw. So the rotation heard around the world. Let's move to the next slide. Because, yeah, we still saw some of it this week until, well, everything kind of changed starting a couple of days ago. Let's move to the first slide here. We're looking at like the first negative week for July, for SPX and NASDAQ anyway. Dow and Russell is still on the positive side. For yesterday, we had a big surge in the dollar, I think. I mean, we were up starting yesterday, right? And then that big move by the dollar essentially kind of turned everything around. And I did tweet about this. I know you saw it, Tony, when we were the idea that we saw the rotation, right? It started a week ago, or last Thursday, about 6% difference between NASDAQ and Russell 2000, and which is fine. We needed some catch up, right? I mean, you kind of needed to kind of get rid of some of that outperformance by all these mega cap techs. But you knew as soon as there was another big down day in NASDAQ and a big down day along with the Russell, the house of cards was going to fall. And that's exactly what we've seen in the last couple of days here. And I think that's the big kind of sentiment change. We're wondering now where this is going to go. As soon as that started happening, you see vol tick up. Mag 7 stock's been taking it on the chin recently. They're at 1 month lows as a group. We had an ominous record miss yesterday. Since 1928, SPX has never followed an all-time high with 2 consecutive days of losses of 1% or more. So we almost had that yesterday. We didn't. That was kind of nerve-wracking, I would say. Netflix this morning, they beat on earnings. They were down last night a little bit. I didn't dig into the weeds, but I know the ad-supported membership is starting to do well. They're getting rid of their basic plan, which was like $11 and change, to basically force people into the ad-supported plan, you would imagine. And the TV roast gets a shout out. Of course, we all watched that. What was your favorite part?
Yeah.
Favorite parts
the Kill Tony part. The YouTube guy, when he came up and did the 3-minute speed roast. Hot set. He came in.
He was great.
He was awesome. They were all great, though. I thought it was all good.
They all were great. Nikki Glazer was great.
Hot set. Offended everybody that he could possibly do, which was, I think, the whole goal of the thing, right? Like, dude, that was really good, man. We haven't seen that kind of comedy in a long time.
No, we haven't. They threw everything. They threw all the barriers, all the fences, they took those down, and they just went everywhere. They went after husbands, wives, children, kids. They didn't care what they were going after. They went after everything. It was really cool.
It was beautiful.
Nah, it's dope. Yeah, it was great. So VIX and VVIX have jumped to 2-month highs amidst this big violent rotation, which again, it's been crazy. It's a rotation. It's been violent. Obviously, it's picked up in vol, but it's been beneficial to market breadth. And I mean, the metric I look at every single day I talk about on engineering and trade, number of stocks above the 50-day moving average. It's basically kind of a barometer for how well the market is doing. And the weird part about it is we've been at all-time highs over the last couple of months at different times. We've been reaching new highs all the time, right?
Yeah.
When we've been at highs, that metric usually is about 75 to 90% of names in the S&P 500 above the 50-day moving average. Previous to this past week, we would be at about 40% and we'd be at all-time highs because it was mostly being led by certain stocks. Sure. And so now it's changed. Now that metric is above 75%. I realize we have it on the platform now. I didn't even know this. There's a lot of different new indicators, Nikki, right? Like on the platform. Yeah. I didn't know the DXY is on there. This metric that I talk about every day is on there. So yeah, this is one of the things I always pay attention to, and it's just wild to see, even though we've had some pullback, even though vol is up, market breadth has increased. Kind of wild.
Yeah. There's a watch list. If you go to so in the drop down, it's one that's built into the platform. If you go to the indicators and then market indicators, there's a whole bunch of built-in indicators. As Jamal said, you've got advanced declining. You have, I think there's one for the NASDAQ and the SPX, all sorts of different volatilities, trend stuff. Of course, you can do DXY if you do the dollar sign, and then DXY, it charts the dollar out for you too as well.
Jamal, you know what? No, I don't think anybody's really talking about. Forget about this last week or so with this rotation of the Russell stocks doing better than the NASDAQ. You know what nobody's really talking about? I think if you had said prior to this week, I think everybody would agree, you know, the NASDAQ and even the S&Ps have gotten so far ahead of the rest of the market, whatever the rest of the market may be. And what I think people were hoping for was that the rest of the market would rally up to the NASDAQ and even the S&Ps, and then we all would be at record levels. But what happened was you had a little bit of like, you know, the breadth of the market kind of stay bid, and these Mag 7 stocks that have led the market kind of take a small breather. It's not like, I mean, we're back to where we were, you know, a month or so ago in these stocks, which were making new highs a month or so ago in these stocks, and the rest of them are cut up. It almost seems like if you look at it, it could be the best of both worlds, right? I mean, the healthiest of both worlds. I don't know. That's the way I'm looking at it.
But I totally agree. No, I think you're right. I totally agree. I think it feels like the best of both worlds. I think it's been a pullback in the Microsofts and the Nvidias of the world, which I think is healthy, by the way. And I think they might resume an uptrend. I'm seeing people call for like Nvidia to go to like 97. I'm like, really, dude? Like, do you understand what that's going to do to the market if that happens? I don't think they really fully get that.
Yeah. I don't think
Well, I think it's wishful thinking.
Yeah, you Scooby this dip into earnings. We've watched this story 1,000 times.
Right.
Zoom out, my friends.
Agree. I think this is actually good heading into earnings as opposed to those names being on highs and then completely toppling because they didn't meet the crazy expectations just because the stock is where it is.
100%.
Just my thought.
If Netflix is any indication of what the rest of the earnings are going to be like, now here's a stock that was making new highs just about every day, and you would think it's one of the most volatile ones, and it does nothing, then everything's priced pretty perfectly. You might get some legs, but we'll see.
Yeah.
That's what makes a market.
Yeah. Let's move to the next slide, John. Again, just a little bit of this. This is SPY growth versus value. It's actually it's actually just showing you how much we've changed, right? More recently, a lot of the value names have caught up to the growth names. But again, you do have to zoom out. This is kind of just a small pullback, kind of indicating a similar thing. But value has been dominating growth more recently, which is, kind of along the same lines of what's been going on with small caps and large caps. Let's move to the next slide. Cryptos have had a week. I mean, it's hard not to talk about. They started out early in the week. We all kind of know what happened over the weekend, which was wild. It's hard not to talk about that. I mean, the big move in cryptos. What do you think about the crypto move here?
I tried to get Tom to get long Coinbase yesterday. I think that's the easiest play.
I agree with you. I think the coins themselves, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you're either long them or you're out of them. You really aren't going to be trading the futures to get short them. Too big of a product. I know they have the smaller products too, but for me, it's really just a directional trade on the crypto itself. Coinbase is probably the best way. I've had good success selling premium in Coinbase, but it does have some wild rides. I do it with defined risk more than naked options, and I think I'm able to ride it out a little bit more of those big moves in Coinbase that you get. So Coin's been a good performer for me.
I had this. We have Ryan on Mondays for our Option Trading Concepts Live to talk crypto, and we're gonna do all sorts of stuff with the Tasty Crypto app and the wallet. But he mentioned all these things that have been happening over prior to this bounce. Yeah, Germany sold $2.5 billion of crypto that they had seized and whatever, and the U.S. was doing the same thing. They all transfer it to Coinbase to trade. That's how Coinbase is the way to trade this. And I was like, oh, okay. So Coinbase widened out those spreads for the German government, taking fees on all that. It's a 1% fee or whatever it is on Coinbase.
It's a win-win.
Amazing.
So you're basically saying Coinbase is crypto is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. And volatility that we've seen in crypto and volatility in trading is good for trading. So I think crypto, there's no way this stock isn't higher.
I mean, the big move was Monday, right? And so I guess what I'm saying is how much of the big move on Monday was due to Trump? What do you think?
Some of it. Like I said, there was all this FUD hanging over the crypto space with Germany selling and Mt. Go and, U.S. selling some of their taken reserves and all sorts of things. So I think it was just an accumulation of multiple news events that kind of concluded, and you get a little bit of a relief afterwards.
Yeah. Let's move to the next slide. Bonds. Are we ever going to get bonds go positive this year? Is this going to happen? Personally, I mean, I'm short them right now, honestly. But are they going to? I mean, this has been the year for bonds, and obviously we keep hearing about different rate cuts. Personally, I still believe if we get a rate cut, it'll be one time. It'll be in December. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this is still a large part of what's going on in equity markets. I think this is still a big thing. Besides all this rotation crap and all this other stuff we're talking about, bonds is still a big deal. And the idea of rate cuts. What do you think?
Weren't they talking about September having the first rate cut?
That's exactly. Yeah, it became big news in the last week. But
almost like a 90% chance at one point or something like that. Yeah, I hate to fade that type of indicator. So for me, I'm going to say they're going to probably try to go into the election with the rate cut, and they'll have their rate cut in September. Now, listen, if the bonds are trading 116, then they're not going to have a rate cut. If bonds are here 118, 19, 20, then it's on the table. That's my thinking. I think the market will tell us what it does in September. I think right now everybody's just posturing.
I got you. Yeah, that's true. Let's move to the last slide. ECB, speaking of rate cuts, did not do one yesterday. It's a little surprising. They said they need to see a little bit more. Apple is looking into licensing some films from major Hollywood studios. They're going after Netflix and FX, of course. Netflix is the leader, naturally. And then I say FX because, well, they led with Emmy nominations the other day, which is, I think they're owned by HBO, but they had led with Emmy nominations. Shogun, which I didn't watch, was apparently huge. And, of course,
a good one.
The Bear. Did you watch Shogun?
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. Spot Ethereum ETFs are likely to be trading on July 23rd, from what I understand. Is this what Ryan's saying too? Is that the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed that a little bit. Obviously, it's good news for liquidity and for more access. He's a purist, a Bitcoin purist, so exactly. He's not as interested.
S&P 500 has gone 352 sessions without a decline of 2%. That's the second longest streak of all time. On Thursday, we got GDP for those who care, and core PC, of course, inflation report that the Fed loves to look at. It's coming up on Friday. And then research on July 26th, the Tasty Bites, a trading guide for smaller accounts. Check it out.